All right, Washington, D.C. This is Tony Browder, welcoming you to another edition of the Browder Files Show. I'm so happy to be with you today. And we've got some special things for you today that we're going to be talking about. But first of all, I'd like to thank everyone for helping me exceed my pledge goal last week by 209%. That was outstanding. You all made me feel like a real winner. And because pledges came in after my show ended, I didn't get a chance to thank several people. And I'd like to start off today's show by thanking Charles from East Norristown, Pennsylvania. I'd like to thank Larry from Upper Marlboro, Maryland. I'd like to also thank Anonymous from Bowling Green, Virginia. Sister Salida, I want to thank you. And we had a total of 14 people who pledged last Wednesday. And of the 14 people who made their contributions to WPFW, 4 of them were new members. So the bar has been raised, and I would love to meet or exceed last week's pledges. So I'm going to be appealing to you throughout today's program to help me do that. I want to also let you know that for a pledge of $150 to WPFW, you will receive the Black August Black Liberation Digipack. Now, what is the Black August Black Liberation Digipack? Well, it contains speeches, it contains songs, it contains information, interviews with the likes of George Jackson and the Soledad Brothers. It contains interviews with H. Rap Brown and Mumia Abu-Jamal and other freedom fighters. This digipack also contains voices of activists, musicians, and poets such as June Jordan, Odetta, Sun Ra, Audre Lorde, Amiri Baraka, John Coltrane, James Baldwin, Gwendolyn Brooks, and many others whose life works reflects the struggle for and service to Black liberation. That's what Black August is all about. And you can get all of this for a pledge of $150. And I didn't mention everything that's in the pack, so just imagine how much more you'll be getting for a contribution of $150. You can make your pledge online at WPFW.org. You can Cash App your pledge at $WPFWFM, or you can call online at 1-800-222-9739. And if you'd like to text in a pledge, you can do that too. You can text WPFWFM to 801-801. So there's at least 4 ways that you can make a contribution to this station. It's your opportunity to keep free airways free. And as we know in America, there's nothing free. Everything has a cost. And so the cost of freedom is your pledge to WPFW. So we'll be looking forward to you making sure that I meet my goal of $500, that I exceed my goal of $500, like the 14 people who pledged last week helped me do. So today is the 38th edition of the Browder Files Show. And I've had people tell me, well, Tony, you haven't taken any calls from your listeners yet. Well, listen, I'm going to do that on my 40th show. That's in 2 weeks on Wednesday, August the 27th. I'm going to open the phone lines and invite you, my listeners, to be my guests. And there'll be a couple of topics that we'll be discussing on that particular show. But one primary topic is the hot topic of the week, and that is the recent takeover of the D.C. Police Department by the National Guard, by the FBI, and by ICE. Now, as a student of history, it's not lost on me that the current occupant of the White House, who I call 92, his illegal deployment of federal troops in D.C. occurred 100 years and 3 days after an estimated 35,000 robed Klansmen and Klanswomen marched down Pennsylvania Avenue on August the 8th, 1925. It's important to note that with this great assemblage of white racists, 1/3 of them were female. These people marched unmasked. Why? Because it was mandated by DC ordinance that they could not march wearing their masks. So 35,000 plus people, men and women, and there were some young people among that group as well, marched down Pennsylvania Avenue after they had met and lobbied some of their representatives in the Capitol building. There's several historical photographs that the Library of Congress has of these Klansmen on the steps of the Capitol, thousands of them marching in formation down Pennsylvania Avenue. And so it's important to also understand the DC ordinance banned political demonstrations on public property in the nation's capital. So this wasn't a political demonstration on the part of the Klan. Why is that? Because the Ku Klux Klan is registered not as a political organization, but as a religious and patriotic organization. Hence, that's why they carry crosses. That's why they carry American flags, because they see themselves as patriots, as Christian patriots who are upholding the duty of Christian Americans, white Christian Americans. This organization boasted a membership of 4 million people nationwide. And among their ranks, they included prominent community and national leaders, senators, congressmen, mayors, state representatives, military, and police officers participated in this demonstration 100 years and 3 days ago this past Monday. There were an estimated 35,000 Klansmen. The numbers fluctuate between 30,000 and 40,000, so I just rounded up to 35,000. But there were 150,000 spectators lining Pennsylvania Avenue to show their support for these Klansmen and Klanswomen. Many of these people came to DC in cars, and these cars sported bumper stickers that read 100% American. And some of these cars had illuminated crosses. So they were there to show up and show out. And as they marched from the Capitol building to their termination point at the Washington Monument, they were going to encircle the Washington Monument multiple times to demonstrate their love for George Washington and their love for the United States of America and the laws of the United States of America, which granted them the right to express themselves freely, but higher forces intervened. And there was a sudden downpour which dispersed the crowd and ruined their plans for a rally on the grounds of the mall. But the following night, across the Potomac River in Arlington County, thousands assembled in a field for the burning of a 30-foot wide cross. And thousands of spectators listened to speeches that evening. They waved American flags, and they sang as a collective, "Onward, Christian Soldiers," because they saw themselves as fighting for the right to make America great again. The Arlington County Police Department said that this was the largest crowd in Arlington County since the opening of the tomb of the unknown soldier 4 years earlier in 1921. So, 9 years prior to this event, 9 years prior to 35,000 Klansmen marching down Pennsylvania Avenue, the current president of the United States at that time, Woodrow Wilson, held the first film screening in the White House. And the film that he screened to a private audience was the premiere, the United States premiere, the world premiere of W.D. Griffith's film, Birth of a Nation. And it's important to understand context. Now, context is everything. That Birth of a Nation was a film adaptation of a book called The Klansman, which was written by a man by the name of Thomas Dixon Jr., who was Woodrow Wilson's roommate at Princeton University. So I want you to understand how history has a way of repeating itself and how what we're seeing today is not too far removed from what happened 50 years ago, 100 years ago, 200 years ago. All of these events should be a reminder to any thinking person that, as President Teddy Roosevelt said, that there is nothing new except the history you do not know. And so for those of us who love history, we have come to understand what Dr. John Henry Clark meant when he said that all history is a current event. There is nothing new that's happening in the world, only those things that you don't know of will surprise you. You think they knew, but they're just being rehashed over and over and over again. So those who study history, like myself, we see ourselves as time travelers. What do I mean by that? We read books, we study artifacts, we travel around the country, we travel around the world to gain a deeper understanding of events that happened 5 years ago, 500 years ago, 5,000 years ago, or even 5 million years ago. And with this study, you gain a deeper historical understanding. And with this deeper historical understanding, you get deeper insights into how things got where they are today. Not only where things are today and how they got here, but where things are going. Because all history is a current event and it repeats itself over and over and over again. So if you know how you got here today, then you have a pretty good idea of where you're headed 5 years from now, 500 years from now, or even 5,000 years from now. It gives you a heads up. So all serious students of history are time travelers in that they have a keen sense of what happened, what is happening, and what will happen. And as Dr. Ivan Van Sertima often said, the events that transpired 5 years ago, 500 years ago, or 500 years ago occupy the same space in your mind, right? So everything that we know is nothing but a memory. Who controls the memories that will determine your perception of reality and your perception of the future is an important thing. That's one of the reasons why 92 is rearranging the historical narrative in 13 of the Smithsonian buildings. Right here in DC, he's rewriting history right in front of our faces. Who was it? It was George Orwell who says, "He who controls the past controls the future, but he who controls the present controls the past." And so, what I want us to do is to return to the present moment, to return to today, which has deep roots in the past. This month of August is called Black August because it sheds light on the injustices committed historically against African Americans by state, by local, and by federal authorities. And so, what I would like to do this afternoon on this show is to shine a spotlight on this specific week in August. This is a week which I refer to as Bright August because it commemorates the lives of four activists, four scholars, four historians who brought African people out of darkness into the light of self-knowledge. This past Monday, August the 11th, was the 81st birthday of our dear Dr. Patricia Newton, a partner with our dear beloved Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. Dr. Newton was one of the principal organizers of the Melanin Conferences. Today, August the 13th, is the 19th anniversary of the passing of Dr. Asa G. Hilliard III. This Saturday, August the 16th, is the 93rd birthday of Dr. Julius Garvey, the youngest son of Marcus Garvey, who was born on August the 17th. August the 16th, this Saturday, is also the 71st birthday of our dear departed brother, Renoko Rashidi. Renoko Rashidi left us on August the 2nd in 2021. Renoko, like Asa, passed in Cairo, Egypt. So we're dedicating today's show to the life and legacy of Dr. Runoko Rashidi. And our guest today is Teresa Dobson, who was and still is the administrative assistant to Dr. Rashidi. She is literally the keeper of the flame of his historical legacy. So, Teresa, I want you to unmute yourself. I want you to come forward, and I want to invite you to the Browder File Show. How are you doing, my sister?
I'm doing well. How are you, Brother Karak?
I'm good. I'm good, and you're looking good, and I'm glad to see that you are back at 100%.
Yeah, the last couple of years were challenging for me, but with all the prayers and support from people that's close to me and love me, yes, I was able to recover and I'm moving forward.
Absolutely. Well, wonderful. I'm so pleased to have you on my show today. And I'm so pleased that this show today falls so close to Renoko's birthday. So I just want to I want to jump in and just ask you, when did you meet Renoko, and what were the events that led to you becoming his administrative assistant?
Well, I I came to know of Dr. Renoko Rashidi um, probably in 2012, 2013, just by hearing his name. Friends at work would talk about different things that were of importance to our community and important to Black people. We had a little circle of friends who talked Black talk.
Hmm.
And of course, your name always came up. But then that's where I heard them talking about Runoko Rashidi, Dr. John Henry Clark, all types of people that have been the leaders in African thought. And so I kind of began to pick things up because I wasn't enlightened at that time.
Hmm.
But I am so happy that I gravitated towards that talk. So that's how I heard of Dr. Renoko Rashidi. And then I think me and my fiance at the time, we attended a lecture or two. And then in 2015, we actually did a trip with him. That was the first trip, the first tour, which was the Olmec in
Ah,
2015, the Olmec tour.
you went to
And
Mexico with him
oh
then.
man, it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
wonderful. Am I excited or what? I still feel that because
Hmm.
it was like a trip of a lifetime. And it was something that I never envisioned or even thought of, had wrapped my head around.
Hmm.
So, and I learned so much. It was a taxing tour because we traveled to so many ancient temples, believe it or not, Mexican temples,
Hmm.
and the museum. So it was such a learning experience. And I recorded, I had my little phone and I kind of recorded Dr. Renoko and stuff like that. And it was just a great experience. Then in 2016, we went to his trip that he went to Kemet.
Okay.
Yeah, so
So you
there
did
were,
two tours with Renoko back to back.
that is right. That is
Okay.
right. And I understand that we were supposed to meet you. That study group was supposed to meet you during that tour, but I think you guys met in Sudan, the second leg of the
Oh,
tour.
2016. Right, 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 right. We had wanted, right, Renoko was to come to the site, to our excavation site, but I'm not sure what happened. But we did, yeah, that was in July of 2016. But we
Yeah.
did hook up with Renoko a couple of weeks later and spend a week with him in Sudan. And that was an incredible trip.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And from there, that was where, my eyes lit up and I was like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. I need to learn about that. After we got back from the 2016 tour, I began to kind of, interact with Dr. Renoko through his Facebook groups and things like that, and would ask if he needed help and assistance with things. And he was very quite self-sufficient, but
Hmm.
that's how I began to engage with him. And eventually, um, eventually it led to me playing a support role to him.
Sure, sure, sure.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah,
Renoko lives in Southern California. You live in Northern California.
yes.
And you had, Renoko is a historian, he's a photographer, he's a scholar, but you brought some technological expertise to this gathering, right? And you helped develop the website, the Patreon page. Tell us about the Patreon page and what that was like.
The Patreon page came. I had to really convince Dr. Rashidi to try the Patreon because he wasn't real big on technology because he
Hmm.
was so sufficient. He was able to travel around. He was able to fly all over the nation, all over the world, and do his talks and get those things. He was able to teach people, so he was good. Financially, he was able to make those things happen. But of course, when COVID hit, that's when
Mm,
everything changed.
sure.
And up until that time, I was really saying, hey, I call him Baba. I said, Baba, want to try it this way? You want to try it that way? There's ways that you can still generate income streams by teaching and et cetera, et cetera. And so the Patreon came in 2020, after I finally was able to convince him to take his teachings from off of the Facebook pages and try doing webinars,
Mm,
and that was, and he was very pleased with the result of that. But before we did the Patreon, I did several GoFundMe's for him. So I think he was able to see that what I suggest to him worked financially, and he was able to trust me more and things like that. And I was consistent.
hmm
Hmm.
I do understand how it is. Renoko was close with Ivan Van Sertima, right? As a
Yeah.
matter of fact, it was Van Sertima who embraced Renoko and brought him into this field. And Van Sertima was someone who was technologically challenged, right? He knew his lane, he stayed in his lane, and most of our scholars are like that. So to have someone like you by his side who could expand his reach and make it possible for him to stay at home, particularly during COVID, to stay at home and still do what he loved to do is so important, so critically important for sustaining him at a time when he wasn't able to travel around the world.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. And that was a blessing to him because it was able to help him understand, this is something that I can do. And then when, the world opened back up for travel, he could travel, but he can also still,
Mhm.
teach and connect to people there at home too.
Okay.
So yeah, that was growth for him.
Absolutely. Well, look, let me remind our listeners that you're listening to the Browder Files show. My guest today is Teresa Dobson. Teresa was the administrative assistant for Renoko Rashidi. We are in the last week of our pledge drive, and I'm asking those of you who support WPFW, those of you who enjoy my show, to make a pledge. I've got a goal of $500, and I would love for you to help me meet my goal today or exceed my goal. You can make a pledge online at WPFW-FM. You could cash app at $WPFW. You can call in at 1-800-222-9739, or you can text WPFW to 801-801. So please do that. Let's get some numbers on the board so that I'll feel better about myself and the work that I'm doing. So, Teresa, feeling better about yourself is important. How did you feel working with the great Renoko Rashidi? How did that impact your psyche? I mean, what did it do to boost your ego?
Well, it didn't do anything to boost my ego because I'm a very self-deprecating person. But what it did, what I tend to do is I see that this is somebody that is of such importance to all of us. The world loved Dr. Renoko, and I said, I'm going to fall in line and help to support him in any way that I can to help him to be able to reach out and to educate and teach and to travel. So I saw myself in a very much a support role, and which is something that I really like. I like being behind the scenes, as you can attest to.
Hmm. Hmm.
And um, so it was so beautiful. But the thing is that initially I was intimidated by Dr. Rashidi. Of course, somebody
Now,
with
why were you intimidated by Renoko? He's not the type of person who would intimidate anybody, is he?
really, Dr. Renoko could be stubborn.
Well,
He could be
uh-huh.
short. But he's a brilliant mind, and he a lot of times he didn't have time for foolishness. But I noticed that the more I got to know him, the longer
Hmm.
I've got to know him and work with him, I began to see that actually he's not as short tempered as some may think. He was actually pretty open-minded, believe it or
Hmm.
not, and it surprised me in certain areas. But that's something that I learned. Some things that you keep private to yourself until people, and you just don't let anybody know.
Hmm.
So I learned that, oh, he's pretty open-minded about things. So like I said, initially, because he's such a great mind, I was intimidated, but as we engaged, I saw that he was so personable
Hmm.
and it was easy to talk to. And I got very comfortable.
Okay, so share with us, if you don't mind, a Renoko Rashidi story, a story that stands out. And I'll let you determine whether it's a humorous story, whether it's a historical story, something about Renoko, but particularly for the benefit of the people who didn't know him. A lot of people are just now discovering his works, um, just now discovering his videos, and they don't know him like you knew him. So what's the story you can share? Give us some insights into this man's character.
Well, the the story that I share, because I'm such a um, person that is used to just engaging directly with him. The type of things that I remember is when we would have our meetings, he and we would do our debriefing after a webinar. We would do planning and things like that. All of this is at the time through Zoom. And we would just talk and talk, on these offline, type of meetings. And I learned that he just had a sense of humor. He would kind of talk off the cuff sometimes and stuff, and I would just say, "Oh, Baba, okay," but in a very respectful way. But he had learned so much.
Yeah.
He had been around so many different people. He had been around so many different personalities, and he took that always into consideration of what he was telling. But I was able to see that there's a lot more to Dr. Renoko than people may initially think.
Hmm.
So that just stuck out to me because that was very consistent in that. And that's another thing that allowed me to become very comfortable with him and feeling comfortable introducing him to new stuff and him feeling confident that I could actually train him to move forward on things technology wise. I'm talking about technology.
Okay, sure. Sure, sure, sure. Well, everybody can use some help, and it's always good to have an angel. It's always good to have someone in your corner who can help, push you into new territories, get you outside of your comfort zone. Hit hint. And move you to do things that you would not normally do, and find yourself becoming quite comfortable
Yeah.
doing things and learning things that expand your horizons and make you a better person. We're approaching the bottom of the hour, and we have one family to thank, Anonymous in Fredericksburg, Virginia. They have contributed $50, so we're 10% at our goal. We still have $450 to go, and we've got 31 minutes to reach our goal. So I'm waiting on those of you who have not made a pledge to my show before, those of you who had not made a pledge to WPFW to call in to 1-800-222-9739 or to go online to WPFWFM.org. It's not very often you'll have an opportunity to hear a discussion about Renoko Rashidi or to have an opportunity to hear someone who worked with such a famous personality um, talk about their experiences. So, Teresa, if you were to introduce Renoko to someone new, how would you introduce him? What would you say about this person?
Well, I would, first of all, I would assess them and I would say that if they're new and looking, he's an excellent person to read the books, to follow. He's got so many videos out there and interviews and things. He's easy to learn from. You know, I've said this before that Dr. Rashidi was very accessible to people
What are
through.
some of his books? What were some of the topics that Renoko discussed, or some of the places that he visited on his tours?
Well, he visited, oh my gosh. He obviously he visited a Kemet, He went to Paris. And when I say he went to, I'm talking about the tour groups the travel groups that he led. He led travel groups to uh, um, Switzerland, I believe. Yeah, I think he's been led groups to Switzerland, but he's definitely led groups to Paris and to England and to the Pacific Islands, Mexico, Brazil, Cuba, all over, And I think as a person wanting to learn about the African presence all over the world, the global African presence.
Hmm.
That is so perfect because he went everywhere and he took people with them, and which was something that was just so astounding to me. I'm like, man, I would like to go, to the Pacific Islanders, and I want
Hmm.
to, go there on a trip. Let's go with Dr. Renoko because he's going to point out the African presence. Now, if the African presence is not important to you, that's one thing. But if the African presence and learning about where we've touched everywhere in the world is important, then somebody like Renoko Rashidi would be a good person to learn from, you
Hmm.
know.
I had a guest on my show 2 weeks ago, a Indian filmmaker, and who was participating in the African International Film Festival. And he told me that he lives in New York, he lives in Harlem, and he remembered meeting Renoko in the 1990s at Hunter College,
Hmm.
and was sharing stories with me about Renoko's visit to India. Renoko's visit and speaking with there's a group of Black Panthers, the Dalits, the segment of the Indian population that's at the bottom of the caste system, and how Renoko had gone over and done presentations with them. And as a matter of fact, as I think back on when I first met Renoko in the 80s, in the mid 80s, he had recently come back from India, and he brought one of the Indian leaders
Hmm.
here to the United States, and did a number of speaking engagements with him. So I mean, he was, a phenomenal brother who had traveled to over, what, 150 countries.
Ah,
I'm still mind blown by that.
right,
You know,
right, right.
150 countries, and he went to some countries multiple times,
Yeah.
looking for and documenting the African presence.
I think he went to Russia too, right?
He went to Russia, absolutely,
In
absolutely.
the middle of winter. I mean,
Well,
hello.
Renoko, he's a dedicated brother. Renoko, I'm an adventuresome person, but Renoko did some things that I would think twice about doing. But that's why I love his spirit. He was in pursuit of knowledge, and wherever
Yeah.
he could find the knowledge, he went there.
Yeah, and he documented it. And I'm so happy that he documented because, taking pictures, pulling out his phone and doing video recordings and talking about it. And because it's so important because things are changing in some of these museums.
Absolutely. Well,
I
we know
don't
that
know.
here in Washington, D.C., for sure.
Yeah, yeah, and I might be being a little cautious about saying some. It might be more like just about all these museums, they're really trying to change the contribution, the African contribution to global
Hmm.
civilization. And so documenting is one of those things that you can do. Just pull out your phone or whatever and just start recording or taking pictures. He did that everywhere. And now we can look back and see, well, we saw how this was in such and such year and what 20 you know 2001 or something. And then if you
Hmm.
go to a certain museum and it's not there anymore, or if something has changed about it, you have something to point back to. That's very important. That's something
Absolutely.
that should not be overlooked in its importance. And Dr. Rashidi has a vast collection of photographs and things that, as the institute that I'm a part of, we're trying to organize all those things.
Well, tell us about the Institute. Well, Renoko passed 4 years ago, and his sudden passing in Cairo came as a shock to everyone who knew him and loved him. What efforts are being undertaken now to preserve his legacy, to preserve his publications and his thousands of photographs?
Yes, yes. So when Dr. Rashidi transitioned on August 2nd in 2021, um, that led me to the opportunity to meet his sister, Carol Strong. And, um, we all worked together and put together a legacy committee, 2 days
Mhm.
after his transition. It was me, you, Sister Deborah Watkins, Karen Johnson, Dr. Karen Johnson, Dr. Joyce, Sister Althea Cooper, people who were really close with Dr. Rashidi, and we got together and started planning things to bring him back, and et cetera, et cetera. It was a lot in August of 2021. You know, um, After the beginning of the year, um, actually, all during that time, I was working closely with Carol because she was the person that was kind of tasked, as part of her family, she put on that mantle to be able to
Mhm.
try to carry his legacy forward.
And Carol
I,
was Renoko's younger sister, correct?
yes, yes.
Hmm.
Now, Dr. Rashidi also had Brenda, his older sister. I'm not sure what her last name is. I'm sorry, Brenda.
Hmm.
Please forgive me. But yeah, so Carol and Brenda were very close and worked closely on that. But my interaction is mainly with Carol because Brenda is very sickly right now. Okay, so toward all the end of 2021, me and Carol were working together to try to get things settled and things like that. And in 2020 through 2020, I think it was yeah, 2023, we finally was able to found the Renoko Rashidi Institute. Carol founded that, and I think it was July in 2023. So the organization was founded, and we had the papers. This is something that we always wanted to do, right? Dr.
Hmm.
Rashidi wanted this to happen, and it took a little while. Excuse me, it took a little while, but she was able to get that part going, you know. And then she and I worked closely together. And um, and Brother Bob Lott, um, Atlantis. These are the officers. Carol's the president. I'm the secretary. Carol's son Donald Strong is a treasurer, and then you is an honorary advisor to the board. Atlantis Browder's an honorary advisor, and Brother Robert Lott, who's a film producer, he's also an advisor. So, we have this organization going forth and trying to really carry on the work. We um, we put together a calendar. We sold the calendar for 2024. We had we had our first calendar from the organization on Dr. Rashidi, and we sold that, and we're very happy about it. And
Oh, speaking
we're
of the calendar,
trying.
if I can jump in for a moment,
Hmm.
Renoko was also a traveling ambassador for the UNIA, and the
Yes.
UNIA is having their annual convention here
Hmm.
in DC at eLife. It's all this week, and as a matter of fact, you mentioned Atlantis. She's going to be speaking at a youth forum for the UNIA tomorrow morning, and Paul Coates and I will be speaking. Um, later on the weekend, I believe.
Hmm.
But they still have some of his calendars available. So if anyone is interested in getting information about the calendar, seeing the calendar, they can go to eLife. and pick up the remaining calendars there. And Paul Coates has published one of Renoko's books, uh, and Sankofa Bookstore, Video and Bookstore on Georgia Avenue, has several editions of Renoko's books available at the bookstore, so people can still find out about him
Mhm.
um, by patronizing these Black establishments that have dedicated themselves to telling our story and documenting the historical legacy of scholars such as Renoko. I want to let our listeners know that you're listening to the Browder File Show. And our guest today is Teresa Dobson. She is the administrative assistant for Renoko Rashidi. We're talking this hour about the life and the legacy of Dr. Renoko Rashidi, whose 71st birthday is this Saturday, who left us 4 years ago, Saturday on the 2nd of August. And we want you to make it possible for us to continue to have discussions such as this here on WPFW. We want you to call in 1 800 222 9739 and make a pledge. We want you to go to Cash App and make a contribution. Whatever amount will help us get over our goal. We're not moving very much, not moving closer to our goal of $500, but I know you all love the conversation. I know you all love Renoko Rashidi. Renoko was in DC like 4 or 5 times a year for at least a decade. And Brother Singor of the UNIA had Renoko in on the regular. So this was his second home. And he loved people here in the community. People in the community loved him. And now's your time to show the love. Show the love to Renoko. Show your love to WPFW by calling in and making a contribution. You can go online to pledge to WPFWFM.org. So Teresa, now that Renoko has been going for 4 years, what's next? What do you have in mind to keep his memory alive and to ensure that he's not going to be forgotten?
Right, right. That is so important. Carol Strong, who's the president of the Renoko Rashidi Institute, she feels so strongly about making sure that she carries on that legacy, that the Institute carries on Dr. Rashidi's legacy. And so what we're doing already is Dr. Rashidi's extensive library
Mm-hmm.
has been picked up by the UCLA, University of California, Los Angeles Archives Division. And they have picked up the books and they are going to organize and catalog them and digitally make them available online for those who would like to research based on Dr. Rashidi's writings and his books. So that's a very new project.
Okay. So
Um,
this archive, let me just get some clarification, Teresa. This archive is not just the books written by Dr. Rashidi, but the books that were a part of his personal library, correct?
right,
Okay.
right,
Okay.
right. Yes, definitely. And so that project is going to take some time, but we've started the process, and they've picked up the books, I believe, in July, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have them in their possession right now. So that's a big step because for a while we
Absolutely.
were looking for some place to be able to archive his works. So that's one thing that is in process right now. And we will keep people informed of how the progress go for that through our Patreon. Our
Mm-hmm.
Patreon members, they get the first little tidbits on how things are going because it's important for people to know that we're doing right by Dr. Rashidi's legacy. So important, you know.
Well, share with our listeners how they can get access to this Patreon collective of materials on Dr. Rashidi.
Yeah, so we have a Patreon that's set up. It's called, just go to Patreon and in the search field for artists or creatives, just type in Runoko Rashidi Institute and the page will come up and will be able to, of course, see what the different levels and things like that are. But we keep people informed on what's going on with certain with the development of the institute because there were so many people that followed Baba, directly, but when he passed, of course, the Patreons dropped off because, Baba was gone.
Sure.
We have to build a new following, and that only comes through people trusting that we're doing right.
Hmm.
I think a lot of times those students of our luminaries become very despondent when a mighty tree falls, yeah,
Hmm.
you
Yeah.
know, and there's such a void, and because they just feel like it's not being handled right, and they just kind of fall off. So we understand that we have to prove that we're doing right. So that's one of the projects that we're doing. Now, understand with the Patreon, we're just now beginning to really put some information in there, because it took a while. It's taken a while for us to get off the ground. We're brand new,
Hmm.
but we're brand new, but we're gonna go. We're gonna head up.
So
And
what do you see for the future with
well,
where would you like to go with this effort? And
right.
what do you need in order to get there?
Well, what I'm going to do before I get to that is I do want to say another thing that we're currently working on is organizing his vast collection of photos. Okay, so I was meaning to say that the books are now being archived, and the next big thing is organizing his photographs because those are two things that you know, I've heard him mention in, various meetings and things like that, saying that he wants to do those two things. Okay, so that's what we're working on now. In the future, we eventually see, uh, eventually want to create a curriculum based on Dr. Rashidi's teachings and his
Hmm.
travels. So that's something in the future. But that's where we want to go. We want to
Okay.
also be able to build the institution to a point where we can have a physical structure so that we can actually physically um, store this library for Dr. Rashidi. These things that people can actually go to a building if they want. But if
Hmm.
not a building, then a digital
Sure.
library, a
Digital.
digital place where people can feel comfortable researching, in addition to what they can find at CSU LA archives.
Hmm.
You know, so yes.
So, Renoko traveled to over 130 countries. Renoko had in his photo archives
Mhm.
probably over 500,000 photographs. I mean, it's an exhaustive collection of photographs of artifacts that were rarely seen by anyone in obscure museums all around the world. So, in order to do the things that you would like to do for the Institute, catalog the photographs, make the photographs available in a digital format, his publications, his speeches, it's going to take a lot of hands, right?
Yes.
Uh, is there a way that people can volunteer? If people have skills or talents or resources, how can they best reach out to you and make a contribution to these incredible efforts?
Absolutely. Well, an easy way that they can do that is just to go to Renoko Rashidi Institute.org and click on the donate button. That's an easy way, and they can donate directly to the institute that way. Another way that they can do to help our organization is by volunteering. You go to renokorashidi.org, Renoko Rashidi Institute.org, and go to the volunteers page. There's a link right there at the top of the main menu on the home page. Just click volunteers and fill out an application, and then we'll get
Okay.
back with you. So we have gotten some new volunteers, and we're very happy that people have expressed a desire to work with us. And we've been meeting with them, especially this month, with the remembrance for Dr. Rashidi. You know, we had special events in a sense, you know,
Hmm.
on the second commemorating his transition, and we will also be attending the UNIA event on the 16th. Carol Strong and I hopefully will be attending remotely, you know,
Hmm.
through
Okay.
streaming link, but we're looking forward to it. You know, so the volunteers have been working with us, you know, on that. And we hope that we can get more volunteers. That's an easy way to help, just with your time and effort. A third way that people can assist in us in our growth and our direction is just by spreading the word, letting them
Absolutely.
know that Dr. Rashidi's legacy, you know, is being taken care of, and it's not going to be lost. You
Very
know,
good.
we're working hard to do that. So yeah.
Well, this Saturday, people here in Washington, D.C., at the UNIA convention, as well as people throughout the country and around the world, will celebrate the birthday of the great Dr. Renoko Rashidi. And Teresa Dobson, I want to thank you so much for spending the hour with us and reminding the world of
Yeah.
this great man, of his legacy. And you want to give us some parting words before we
Well,
end our interview?
I just want to first of all thank you, Brother Karak, um, for inviting me on here. You know me, and I'm a person that is a little shy to be in front of the camera. But, you know, I appreciate you challenging me and continuing to challenge me. And, you know, the fact is that it's not enough to just be challenged, but you got to step up. So, you
Exactly,
know, I'm
exactly.
stepping up to it and I'm growing from it. And so I appreciate you for having faith in me. And for everybody else, hey, you know, follow us, continue to follow us, and you're going to see next year, this time, we're going to be even stronger. The Runoko Rashidi Institute will be even stronger, have more things going on, and you will be able to see the result of the work that we're putting in. So,
All right.
yeah,
I drink to that. Thank you so much, Teresa, and
thank
appreciate
you.
having you having you on as a guest. And folk, listen, it looks like I will maybe not make my goal. Maybe there's some other pledges that have come in via Cash App that I haven't seen yet, but I'm looking at the numbers now. And what I want you to know is that you can continue to pledge. If not to my show, then the next show that comes on WPFW or any program this evening or for the rest of this pledge drive. It's so important that you support this station and help it achieve its financial objectives so that we can continue to bring you good programming. You can, as always, pledge online at WPFWFM.org. You can also make a contribution at Cash App, on Cash App at $WPFWFM. You can text WPFWFM to 801-801. Or if you want to do it the old fashioned way, you can pick up your telephone and you can dial 1 800 222 9739. That's 1 800 222 9739. You could do it for my show, you could do it for any show. Make a pledge and do something to keep WPFW financially viable so that we can continue to bring you information that is needed now more than any other point in time in our recent memory. It's no joke that people are serious about taking America back to the good old days when we were in our place, when our voices were silent, and we cannot just sit idly by. It's important to support institutions and organizations and individuals that bring you information. Information transforms lives. And WPFW has been in the information business for 48 years. So I'm proud to be a part of the WPFW family. The Browder File has been here for 38 programs, 38 weeks, and we're doing our part to enlighten a community that certainly needs light. So please don't forget, support the Bridal File Show. Pledge now to WPFWFM.org. $ WPFWFM on Cash App, 1-800-222-9739. And as I promised you, in 2 weeks, I'll be back to open the phone lines, and I want to hear from you. And when you call into the show, the first thing I want you to say is how much you support what WPFW is doing, and how you have helped to keep the station on the air, and what you will continue to do to keep the station on the air. And then we'll chop it up. We'll talk about things that we need to talk about. We need to talk about things not just to be talking, not just to be flapping our jaws, but to talk about ways that we can help this city, talk about ways that we can help our children who are now in the crosshairs of this federal administration, who want to arrest our children, who want to displace the homeless, who want to take DC back. And for those native Washingtonians who have always called DC home, it's important for you to love this city like you've never loved it before. And yeah, these are challenging times, people. And I know a lot of people are feeling dispirited. And that's part of what this push, this effort to overwhelm us is designed to do. Break your spirit, break your back. But let us be clear that history has shown that we are people who have survived. We are people who have endured things that have destroyed other people. We're here for a purpose. We're here because there are things that we're supposed to do. And each of us, as Dr. Wilson said, each of us has a cosmic assignment. Each of us has a skill, a talent, and ability that we can do better than anyone else. So let's be true to ourselves. Let's be true to those that you love. And as we always talk about on this show, we talk about the importance of love, and not just the I love you, baby, because you look so and so and so and so. Let's talk about the deep love, the love for yourself. Love begins with love for self. And as you amplify that love, you spread it throughout the community. Maurice White takes us out every day, reminding us it's all about love, and he's doing it right now. I will see you all next week. Thank you for tuning in and supporting the Browder File and WPFW.